Experience hath shown, that even under the best forms of government those entrusted with power have, in time, and by slow operations, perverted it into tyranny. Determined never to be idle, no person will have occasion to complain of the want of time who never loses any. It is wonderful how much may be done if we are always doing. One man with courage is a majority. We may consider each generation as a distinct nation, with a right, by the will of its majority, to bind themselves, but none to bind the succeeding generation, more than the inhabitants of another country. Never spend your money before you have earned it. Educate and inform the whole mass of the people. They are the only sure reliance for the preservation of our liberty. Peace, commerce and honest friendship with all nations, entangling alliances with none. Our greatest happiness does not depend on the condition of life in which chance has placed us, but is always the result of a good conscience, good health, occupation, and freedom in all just pursuits. The boisterous sea of liberty is never without a wave. Mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. No occupation is so delightful to me as the culture of the earth, and no culture comparable to that of the garden. It is neither wealth nor splendor, but tranquility and occupation which give you happiness. The earth belongs to the living, not to the dead. The glow of one warm thought is to me worth more than money. It is error alone which needs the support of government. Truth can stand by itself. In every country and every age, the priest had been hostile to liberty. Leave all the afternoon for exercise and recreation, which are as necessary as reading. I will rather say more necessary because health is worth more than learning. Don't talk about what you have done or what you are going to do. I would rather be exposed to the inconveniences attending too much liberty than those attending too small a degree of it. No freeman shall be debarred the use of arms. Peace and friendship with all mankind is our wisest policy, and I wish we may be permitted to pursue it. It is incumbent on every generation to pay its own debts as it goes, a principle which if acted on would save one half the wars of the world. A wise and frugal government, which shall restrain men from injuring one another, shall leave them otherwise free to regulate their own pursuits of industry and improvement, and shall not take from the mouth of labor the bread it has earned. Money, not morality, is the principal commerce of civilized nations. Do not bite at the bait of pleasure, till you know there is no hook beneath it. I was bold in the pursuit of knowledge, never fearing to follow truth and reason to whatever results they led, and bearding every authority which stood in their way. The most successful war seldom pays for its losses. There is not a truth existing which I fear, or would wish unknown to the whole world. Happiness is not being pained in body or troubled in mind. I hope our wisdom will grow with our power, and teach us, that the less we use our power the greater it will be. All, will bear in mind this sacred principle, that though the will of the majority is in all cases to prevail, that will to be rightful must be reasonable, that the minority possess their equal rights, which equal law must protect, and to violate would be oppression. Nothing is unchangeable but the inherent and unalienable rights of man. One travels more usefully when alone, because he reflects more. Be polite to all, but intimate with few. Enlighten the people generally, and tyranny and oppressions of body and mind will vanish like evil spirits at the dawn of day. Enlighten the people generally, and tyranny and oppressions of body and mind will vanish like evil spirits at the dawn of day. I cannot live without books. Errors of opinion may be tolerated where reason is left free to combat it. Commerce with all nations, alliance with none, should be our motto. Ignorance is preferable to error, and he is less remote from the truth who believes nothing than he who believes what is wrong. I find that he is happiest of whom the world says least, good or bad. The Creator has not thought proper to mark those in the forehead who are of stuff to make good generals. We are first, therefore, to seek them blindfold, and then let them learn the trade at the expense of great losses. Only aim to do your duty, and mankind will give you credit where you fail. No man will ever carry out of the presidency the reputation which carried him into it. In truth, politeness is artificial good humor, it covers the natural one of it, and ends by rendering habitual a substitute nearly equivalent to the real virtue. One loves to possess arms, though they hope never to have occasion for them. Bodily decay is gloomy in prospect, but of all human contemplations the most abhorrent is body without mind. The natural cause of the human mind is certainly from credulity to skepticism. The way to silence religious disputes is to take no notice of them. Speeches that are measured by the hour will die with the hour. Difference of opinion is advantageous in religion. The several sects perform the office of a censor over each other. Truth is certainly a branch of morality and a very important one to society. When a man assumes a public trust, he should consider himself a public property. Books constitute capital. A library book lasts as long as a house, for hundreds of years. It is not, then, an article of mere consumption but fairly of capital, and often in the case of professional men, setting out in life, it is their only capital. I have no ambition to govern men, it is a painful and thankless office. We are not to expect to be translated from despotism to liberty in a feather bed. Wisdom I know is social. She seeks her fellows. But beauty is jealous, and illy bears the presence of a rival. If God is just, I tremble for my country. The good opinion of mankind, like the lever of Archimedes, with the given fulcrum, moves the world. The whole commerce between master and slave is a perpetual exercise of the most boisterous passions, the most unremitting despotism on the one part, and degrading submissions on the other. Our children see this, and learn to imitate it. Politics is such a torment that I advise everyone I love not to mix with it. My only fear is that I may live too long. This would be a subject of dread to me. So confident am I in the intentions, as well as wisdom, of the government, that I shall always be satisfied that what is not done, either cannot, or ought not to be done. It is our duty still to endeavor to avoid war, but if it shall actually take place, no matter by whom brought on, we must defend ourselves. If our house be on fire, without inquiring whether it was fired from within or without, we must try to extinguish it. Force is the vital principle and immediate parent of despotism. Wisdom I know is social. She seeks her fellows. But beauty is jealous, and illy bears the presence of a rival. The second office in the government is honorable and easy, the first is but a splendid misery. It behooves every man who values liberty of conscience for himself, to resist invasions of it in the case of others, or their case may, by change of circumstances, become his own. The world is indebted for all triumphs which have been gained by reason and humanity over error and oppression. An association of men who will not quarrel with one another is a thing which has never yet existed, from the greatest confederacy of nations down to a town meeting or a vestry. An enemy generally says and believes what he wishes. The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just, that his justice cannot sleep forever. Honesty is the first chapter in the book of wisdom. I like the dreams of the future better than the history of the past. In matters of style, swim with the current, in matters of principle, stand like a rock. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Rightful liberty is unobstructed action according to our will within limits drawn around us by the equal rights of others. I do not add within the limits of the law because law is often but the tyrant's will, and always so when it violates the rights of the individual. Question with boldness even the existence of a God, because, if there be one, he must more approve of the homage of reason, than that of blindfolded fear. Rightful liberty is unobstructed action according to our will within limits drawn around us by the equal rights of others. I do not add within the limits of the law because law is often but the tyrant's will, and always so when it violates the rights of the individual. Nothing can stop the man with the right mental attitude from achieving his goal, nothing on earth can help the man with the wrong mental attitude. The care of human life and happiness, and not their destruction, is the first and only object of good government. Timid men prefer the calm of despotism to the tempestuous sea of liberty. I have sworn upon the altar of God, eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man. Walking is the best possible exercise. Habituate yourself to walk very far. When angry, count to 10 before you speak. If very angry, count to 100. Do you want to know who you are? Don't ask. Act. Action will delineate and define you. The man who reads nothing at all is better educated than the man who reads nothing but newspapers. Nothing gives one person so much advantage over another as to remain always cool and unruffled under all circumstances. Whenever you do a thing, act as if all the world were watching. How much pain they have cost us, the evils which have never happened. Always take hold of things by the smooth handle. I know of no safe depository of the ultimate powers of the society but the people themselves, and if we think them not enlightened enough to exercise their control with a wholesome discretion, the remedy is not to take it from them but to inform their discretion. Delay is preferable to error. Power is not alluring to pure minds. Experience demands that man is the only animal which devours his own kind, for I can apply no milder term to the general prey of the rich on the poor. It is in our lives and not our words that our religion must be read. It is always better to have no ideas than false ones, to believe nothing, than to believe what is wrong. It takes time to persuade men to do even what is for their own good. Resort has had to ridicule only one reason is against us. Taste cannot be controlled by law. Whenever a man has cast a longing eye on offices, a rottenness begins in his conduct. Whenever a man has cast a longing eye on offices, a rottenness begins in his conduct. If we can but prevent the government from wasting the labors of the people, under the pretense of taking care of them, they must become happy. I have no fear that the result of our experiment will be that men may be trusted to govern themselves without a master. I abhor war and view it as the greatest scourge of mankind. It is more dangerous that even a guilty person should be punished without the forms of law than that he should escape. It is more dangerous that even a guilty person should be punished without the forms of law than that he should escape. History, in general, only informs us of what bad government is. There is not a sprig of grass that shoots uninteresting to me. Friendship is but another name for an alliance with the follies and the misfortunes of others. Our own share of miseries is sufficient, why enter then as volunteers into those of another?